Eastern here in the state of North Carolina. Ed's already here saying hello. Hello, Ed. I got Buddy here with me. He did not want to miss this event. Jake just texted me. He is currently on the way to his shop where he will be joining us live. So I've never done this with a guest, but apparently once he joins, he'll pop up in his own little window and we can talk together. So cool. We already have a few people on. Nice to see you guys. We have
engine,
said vehicle and engine here right behind me. I'm going to set my phone up on a tripod real quick, and the two of us are going to push this thing just slightly out of the garage here. Two reasons. A, in case this catches on fire, it won't burn my house down. Mm-hmm. And B, that's where we started the Boxster together. And it was a success. Yes. It started. So we are 1-0 in that location. So I guess if you guys, hey, you can probably give this thing a thumbs up. Go ahead and do that now. Good luck. Good luck. Thumbs up for me. Maybe this thing will start. And feel free to chat in the comments down there. I'll try to keep an eye on them and see them. I assume they will show up and I'll be able to see them. Or you guys can chat amongst yourselves as well. Yeah, that's where that vacuum line goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. He is already spilling coolant.
Just checking. You said to double check.
We're gonna push this car out. I guess we can get out there. That's good.
Oh, the brakes work.
A
little bit further to the door.
You can get out of the door.
All right, so let's recap. What is it that we were concerned about with the Boxster? There was a ticking noise in the beginning, and that had to do with the hydraulic lifters not having oil pressure. Remember, there was a little bit of that. There was smoke.
Oh, yeah, we
eventually left. Then there was the coolant issue.
Yes, the coolant issue is the scary one.
Yeah,
because it kept leaking. Why was it leaking? I can't remember.
There was a connector.
There was a
in the Boxster. There's like that coolant thing and something else.
I don't think there's something not connected, was it? Wasn't it just like not full? It had air in the system, or
why would it? I mean, it was leaking onto.
It was leaking. I can't remember. It was coming out of the expansion tank vent thing.
Yeah.
All right, we have Jake with us. Good evening, Jake. How are you doing?
Good. How about you, man?
I am doing well. Standing outside here with the 997. A little nervous, but excited at the same time.
Well, I mean, you know, I've been doing this stuff since I was like 10 years old, and you never lose that nervousness when one of these things is about to come to life. You know, you just, and I tell myself if I ever do lose that, I should just stop because it's become too normal. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. That's good. Makes me feel better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's one of those things where, you know, usually everything goes really good and you're a hero, or everything goes really bad and you're a zero, you know? I mean, because other than something like a small oil leak, nothing is going to happen that's minor. You know what I mean? At this point. So what I like to tell people is if it's going to break, I want it to break right now. Don't wait around. You know, if you're gonna have a problem, have it right now, because the quicker it breaks, the quicker you can start fixing it. You know, it sucks, but it's better if it breaks right off the bat than if it waits around, because that just makes everything worse. So,
good point. Good point. All right. So, do you want to go over your checklist that you do, and I will see if I've done all of those things.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked yesterday. I mean, you already had the battery on charge. That's something that people usually forget to do. You know, and then you go to start it and the battery's low, and then it throws 10,000 low voltage codes, and every module is pissed off, and all that sort of thing. So Having a hot battery is obviously good, and you put fresh fuel in it, right? The fuel's fresh.
Fuel. Here is the 10 gallons of old fuel that we pulled out. And,
Okay.
Nice. By the way, it really sucks trying to get rid of fuel. I've called around everywhere, and nobody wants to take fuel.
Controlled fire.
Yeah, I'll have to burn that off or something. I don't know. Pour it into
Lawnmower.
my neighbor's car that I don't like.
A lawnmower is about the best way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It'll usually burn it.
Yep. So we got new fuel.
Okay, so batteries, hot, fuel's good. You've got the oil filled, correct?
10 quarts.
Okay. Yep. That's good. And of course, it has more capacity than that. But I told you the reason why I put 10 in it, and then we crank it and we run it and we top it off from there. I've seen people put the maximum amount in and then they overfill it. So, that's what you don't want to do, especially with a new engine. People think that defaulting to the higher side is safer, but I don't think so. These engines they're better if you run them just a tad bit low, especially right now. So, and then you can correct it a little bit later on. And you use an airlift to fill the cooling system, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we talked about that. Vacuumed out all the air. I was surprised. I only got like 4 gallons of coolant in there.
Okay.
That seemed normal.
Yeah, and the thing is that it may change after you run it for a little while, because the vacuum system sometimes will pull it through the heater core, sometimes it won't.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, a lot of times after I go drive one of these cars on my first 52-mile loop, the next day after it cools off overnight, then I'll have to top it up just a little bit because of that. But 4 gallons, 4.25 is kind of about where they usually go in at. And the thing is, sometimes you can't remove all of it. Maybe there was a radiator or two still had a little bit of coolant left in them.
Yeah, the front radiators probably still had some in it, I would assume. So
yeah. Okay. Well, those things are done good. Now, the one thing I should have told you yesterday, that I've done that works really well to help them start up sooner, I just didn't think to tell you, is I take a old relay and I trick it out so I can use it to prime the fuel system. So,
okay.
that's, if you've got a scan tool, you can also engage the fuel system. You can do that with the Durametric. And if you do that, you just turn the fuel pump on, it'll go ahead and get fuel pressure without turning the engine over. So if you do it that way, you're going to have fuel pressure, before the engine ever turns over the first time. That will make it light off quicker. And that's
Gotcha.
the quicker it lights off, the better off it is. And I'm going to walk you through and tell you what to do as you do it. And I'm doing some of this differently with you because I didn't build it. I don't know exactly all the things that you did, and honestly, I didn't watch any of the series, so I have no idea. Yeah. So we're going to do this a little differently because a lot of other people are going to be watching this, obviously, and I want them to do this in a manner in which really you can't screw it up. You know what I mean? Like nobody could screw this up.
Okay.
And what we're going to do. It was kind of spawned from what I do when I just do an oil service on any kind of car or truck or tractor, because you always end up, introducing air into a system. And right now, your system is filled with air. Mm-hmm. So one of the big things, and you and I talked about it, was not pre-filling the oil filter, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go over a reason for that. And there's a little bit of a controversy about that right now, because Lake Speed Jr., a good friend of mine that I've been working with for 15, 18 years now at this point, developing oils and all kinds of stuff, he did a video pretty recently saying about the general benefits of pre-filling an oil filter. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not on an M96 or M97 engine. So these engines are a bit different in the way they behave. They have some of those idiosyncrasies that other engines don't have. So what I've learned is if you pre-fill the filter on these, it's almost a guarantee that it's going to take longer for it to get oil pressure if it ever does. And I've had people pre-fill filters and they literally broke their engine because they did it. So, Yeah, because it wouldn't get oil pressure. That's the thing. It wouldn't prime back up. And then they're going through this state of denial, like I just did an oil change, everything was fine. There's no way this could be happening to me. And they just lose their mind and they keep starting the engine up and they keep doing this and doing this, thinking that this isn't happening to them. And then all of a sudden there's a and it's over. It's done.
Yikes.
So, that's and I've had it happen a couple of times over the years. The last time was an attorney out of Alabama, and I was on the phone with him. I said, dude, I can hear the lifters. I can hear every lifter. There's no oil pressure in this engine. Well, maybe there's something wrong with the light. I said, I don't care if the light's on or not. I can hear the lifters over the phone. It has no oil pressure, right? Okay, so do you have the Durametric standing by or a P-Wiz? Or
I have P-Wiz, but it is
launch. Can you do it with a
I have a launch. I don't know if you can do it with the launch. My Durametric's not set up. I own one of those, but
I don't have a launch and I've never navigated through one. We can try it and see. I mean, if it will allow you to have drive links, engage drive links, you should be able to turn the fuel pump on.
Let me go grab it.
Well, one question. So you do want fuel for the first few turns? I thought you wanted the engine to turn so that you build up oil pressure. Can you walk us through that?
Well, I'm going to. Trust me, when the engine starts up, we're not going to allow it to sustain combustion. We're going to cease that operation.
Okay, got it.
We're going to do that several times, but the quicker we can get this engine to turn over and self-sustain, the quicker it's going to get oil pressure, because what makes it get oil pressure is RPM. On the starter, the starter will only turn at 400 RPM.
That totally makes sense. So get the fuel, start it. As soon as it fires up, shut it off, because you're going to get a few, a few revolutions.
Yeah, and I know how many times it should take for that to happen. I know what pressure you should see at different stages of that, because I've done this thousands of times at this point. So, and if it's not doing what it should be doing, then I know what to do so we don't do something stupid and cause a problem. So what you're looking for there, Aaron, is going to be anything that says enable drive links, enable, if it'll let you turn on anything, it should let you turn on the fuel pump. And it's no big deal if it doesn't do it, because it just takes an extra few seconds and an extra few revolutions to get it to work out. But if we can get fuel pressure, it'll fire up within a couple seconds.
Intake, exhaust flap, intake. Okay, keep going. Fuel tank.
Fuel pump.
Fuel pump relay.
There you go. That's it. You should hear it come on.
All right.
Actuate.
How long should I let it run?
I mean, it's not going to hurt anything to let it run for 30 seconds to a minute to bleed all the air out of it.
You can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it there, Jake.
Yeah.
It's going.
I think I heard it come on, yeah.
It's going.
And now what you want to do is go look for fuel leaks. So on that's the first thing you do, and then make sure you got a fire extinguisher. So I would be looking
right here.
Yeah, I'd be looking at the fuel rails. I'd be looking at the fuel injectors around where the injectors meet the rail.
Yep. Dry, meaning nothing.
Okay.
All right. Nothing. It's dry, bone dry. Nothing on the driveway.
All right. All right. No more scanning, right? We're done with the scanning.
Yeah.
Right. And I did go through and clear all my fault codes earlier today.
All right. So now the next thing we want to do is a throttle adaptation.
All right.
So just turn the key to the on position, and you want it to stay on for a minute, and then you want it to stay off for a minute. So, and it's not a bad thing to time it.
Oh, the key was on for the ECU test. So turn it off.
That's okay, because it needs to be on for a minute and then off for a minute, and then we're going to try to start it. So
okay.
All right. So
turn it off.
Turn it off now, because it's been on for over a minute.
All right.
Okay.
And there's Edward Migliori was saying, for those of us who came into this series late, can you tell me about the internal work that has been done to the engine? Everything.
LN Engineering did a lot of stuff to the block.
Yeah,
from a 3.8 to a 4.0, and then they supplied us with a bunch of pistons. We did all that stuff.
mm-hmm.
Lots of videos. Go watch.
It's a
all right
entire engine rebuild.
What do we do next?
All right. So now, I mean, pretty much we're ready to try to start it.
All right, I'm gonna be here with a fire extinguisher.
Okay, now go ahead and turn the heat on high temperature and high fan. Okay. And the reason we're doing that is because it's going to help to bleed out any air that may be in the heater core.
All right, and so we're gonna turn my ignition back on for that then.
Yeah, and we're gonna what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up leaving that on. Once the engine starts up, that heat is going to stay on high until you feel hot air coming out of the vents. Okay.
We are on high.
All right. So just so you understand what's going to happen now.
Yep.
All right. So when we go through this sequence of starting the engine up and then shutting it off, okay, we're going to do that 5 times.
Okay.
All right. So you're going to turn the engine over until you hear it try to light off. Once it lights off and it goes boom 1 time, immediately shut it off. Okay. Then you're going to count to 5 and do the same thing all over again and immediately shut it off. We're going to do that 5 times.
Okay.
Now, I don't expect you're going to see oil pressure for at least 4 of those, maybe all 5. Okay. If you do see oil pressure, we're still going to keep doing that. So let's say you got oil pressure on the 3rd one. We don't care. We're going to do that all the way to the 5th one. Okay. And then after the 5th one, we're going to stop, survey the situation, and see if we need to start it up and let it idle and run, bring it up to 2,000 RPM, or if we're going to do that sequence some more. So you're just going to do 5 times. As soon as it lights off, shut it off, and then we're going to stop and see where we're at, and I'll tell you what to do from there.
All right, so my oil pressure far right here, it's already at 2.
There's something wrong with the sending unit then.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you put a new one on it?
Do we put a new sending unit on it?
Nope.
Super.
Yeah, nope. It's screwed.
I remember you telling me for my other engine that I should be getting a new sending unit.
Yeah, it's already in your kit. So that's not good because we don't know if that sending unit is going to be reporting correctly. Now maybe 2 is the new 0. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But we don't know that, right? Yeah. And it's not something that you want to assume. So do you happen to have a sending unit or no?
No.
Okay. Well, it may not function at all, or it might get oil pressure and then not tell us that it's got oil pressure. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big question mark, and it's a critical question mark.
Yeah.
So to me, I would say you abort because we don't know what we're looking at. Now, if it was the gauge, that's another thing. We could use your launch or whatever to look at the actual pressure. So maybe do this. Actually. Yeah. Okay. Grab the launch and let's see what it says the oil pressure is, because it might be the gauge. Usually it's not, but let's see what the launch says, because if it says 0, then there's going to be something up.
I can turn my fan back off.
Well, now you can see the reason why I tell everybody to have a hot battery, So, and when I'm doing this, I'm doing it on a power supply, not a battery charger.
Yeah, do you have a charger? I can hook it up to the battery while you.
Yeah, it's all right over there.
The only problem with a charger is that it's got pulses. It's not a power supply,
Right. Yeah. Or instrument cluster. DME.
Yeah. DME, it should be. That should be where it's at. I mean, I don't have a launch, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Read data stream.
Yep.
Input signals. Air mass, catalytic, throttle, ignition.
So just so you know, no matter what you do with one of these engines, if you have the engine out of the car, whatever, put a new oil pressure sending unit on it every time.
That is what we're learning. And is that the one you said is like super hard to get to?
No, it's not hard. It's on the right side of the engine bay. No, it's
Okay.
not hard. It's over by the X59 1 and 2 plugs over on the right side.
Yeah, because there shouldn't be anything, right? There's
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
When these fail, there's different ways they fail. A lot of times they will fail in a manner in which they get really nervous when the engine's hot. They'll twitch around. Other times they'll fail like this, where they just will not bottom out. You know, basically it'll take 0 is now 2 is kind of what happens with that one. And sometimes they fail to the point where they'll never go up high. So the problem is that it's going to be crucial that we know exactly when it gets pressure and how much pressure it gets.
Is the oil pressure? I guess it's just a pressure sensor, right? So it's not resistive or anything. It's just is it pressure that changes the resistance for the readout? How does the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a typical oil pressure sending unit works that way.
Okay.
And then they start to get internal resistance, and then they wig out. So
Yep. Yeah, because right now it's saying 2. There's no way.
And I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is we don't know what it's going to do and how it's going to behave when it does get pressure. We don't know if it's going to go crazy and say it's got 5 bar when it only has like 1. We don't know if it's going to work at all. So it's so crucial. It's so crucial to know when it's got it and how much it has. That, you know, if we can't get a true reading, you can't start it safely.
There's a lot of weird data stuff in here.
But no oil pressure?
Oil temperature, selector position, speed, short distance, total distance. Yeah, nothing that says oil pressure.
Yeah, if there is one instrument gauge that needs to be functional, it's that one.
Yeah,
I would agree. Everything, I mean, fuel, who cares? RPMs, who cares? Temperature, maybe secondary, but.
Do you have a mechanical oil pressure gauge by chance?
No.
Because that would be the other thing you could do is just
plug it into that same, yeah.
Yeah, the little kits you can buy at a local parts store have a bunch of different adapters, and one of them would fit that hole.
Is it on the top? Is it one of the
yeah,
oil?
It's fairly easy to get to. I mean, it's not like right in your face. It's on the right side of the engine bay, 2/3 of the way back. Yeah. So you can get to it. Now, you might also want to check the connections on that and just make sure that it's plugged in and all that sort of thing too,
So she's back here somewhere?
Yes, on the right side there, you'll see it.
Or like, yeah. All right. Well, so maybe I need to order one of those. It sounds like.
Yeah, you need one anyway.
Yeah.
Do you have the one off the Cayman engine?
Ooh. Now we're talking.
I'm a master at cannibalizing parts.
Now we are talking. Yes. Question is, where the heck would that be? Would probably be in this box of stuff. I would not have known what it was called when I took it off, so who knows what I would have labeled it as.
You know what it looks like, right? It's a cylinder, got connections on top of it. It's threaded on the bottom.
Yes. Oh, I think I know. Knock sensors?
I'm reading the comments here. It looks like I got an old friend in here from 30 years ago.
Oh, hey, awesome. Over there.
Yeah, this guy used to go to some Volkswagen shows I used to go to. So, if he's still watching it, do you remember when we used to blow the engines up on purpose?
Fill tubes, pistons, fuel rails, AOSs, more fuel rails. I think that brings us to the end of this adventure for tonight. So I get a new one of those things so we don't blow up my engine.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't risk it. I mean,
Yeah.
it sucks, but at the end of the day, everything that we're going to be doing is based off of when it starts to get pressure, how much pressure it gets, and how it maintains that pressure. So if we don't have an absolute known factor with that sensor, we can't do it.
Yeah, I'll get a new sensor. You got some extra sensors, Jake?
The electronics are bad.
No, I don't have any extra ones.
Yeah, the short one from Porsche, they can't be that much.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they have.
I mean, yeah, I mean, any of the parts stores have them. I mean, I can have one drop shipped to you. That's not a problem. But
very common.
I mean, the dealer, if you got a dealer local,
yeah,
they should have that in stock. It's used for such a wide array of cars.
Okay. Yeah. I will grab one of those.
Mechanical one would be a nice pack.
Karen, in case you're listening online, is the parts person at our local Porsche thing that she follows me. So get one of those ordered for me. Otherwise, I'll call you in the morning.
You just can't operate under a question mark. You just can't.
Yeah.
Not with something like this. To do that would be absolutely foolish. You can't do that.
Not at this point.
And I am foolish, but not that foolish. So we're gonna come back.
But I've seen people that were just so hell bent on I've got to hear this thing run, and they do that and they screw themselves. I mean, you've got to have great judgment here, because if not, that judgment turns into an experience that you're never going to forget.
It's been 2 years. What's a couple more days?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right, Jake. Well, thank you so much for joining, and thank you, because I probably would not have done that had you not been here. I wouldn't have noticed, and I would have just kept trying to fire it up.
Well, the next thing I was going to tell you, it was on the tip of my tongue. I was getting ready to say, what is the gauge looking at? What's the gauge setting at now? And I was also going to tell you that we need to pay attention to the behavior of the tachometer while you're on the starter to make sure the tach is moving. That tells us what we have ignition pulse. So, the crank sensor's plugged in, because it's harder to do on the later cars, but the early cars, people will plug the crank sensor into the wrong plug, and the engine will never run.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't get a signal. They plug it in where the Hall effect sensor goes, and it won't run. So that's why I've always had that in my checklist. If you're on the starter, you should see the tach moving. So, okay, well, I'll be out of pocket tomorrow through the weekend, but I'll be back. I can help you after the first of the week. So,
okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your help and your time. And you have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you guys too.
All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.